Lena hated the feeling of being watched from both sides at once. The Tide escort rode beside her on a battered utility bike, one hand on the handlebar, the other never far from the rifle slung across his chest. He was young, maybe 20, with a narrow face and a hard expression that looked practiced rather than earned. Cole had introduced him only as Seth, then dismissed him with a glance that said he was either loyal or expendable. Lena couldn't tell which was worse. Jax followed 50 yards back in the heat shimmer, staying out of sight as much as the open road allowed. Harborline's outer fences were still a mile away, but already Lena could imagine the reaction at the gate. Suspicion, fear, and the kind of quiet panic that spread faster than disease when strangers arrived with weapons and water politics. The escort didn't speak until the first watchtower came into view. "You're not smiling," Seth said. Lena kept her eyes on the road. "Should I? If this goes wrong, my captain will blame you. If it goes right, he'll still probably blame you." "That's comforting." Seth gave a short, humorless laugh. "You're Harborline. You people make every deal sound like a sermon. And you Tide people make every warning sound like a threat." He didn't deny it. When Harborline's outer gate finally rose ahead of them, the guards above it shouted down and trained rifles on the road. Lena lifted both hands from the bike, signaling them to hold fire. One of the guards recognized her immediately and shouted for the gate chief. Another one saw the Tide escort and nearly fired anyway. "Easy," Lena called. "He's under truce." "Since when?" someone shouted back. "Since now," Seth muttered beside her. The gate opened only enough to let them through one at a time. Lena entered first, with Seth right behind her and Jax appearing last from the haze like a ghost with a rifle. Harborline's walls swallowed them in a crush of voices, all of them tense, all of them thirsty for answers before water. The escort's presence changed everything. People stopped talking when they saw his Tide markings. Mothers pulled children away. Men shifted hands toward hidden blades. A few looked ready to drag him to the ground just for breathing inside their settlement. Lena turned before anyone could start something stupid. "Nobody touches him," she said. "He's here because Cole wants a trade, not a war." "That depends on who gets to call it a trade," Jax said quietly. Seth's gaze flicked to him. "Your scout's got a mouth." "He's alive because of it," Lena replied. They were still in the outer corridor when one of Harborline's water stewards came running up, breathless and pale. "Lena, Council wants you in the filtration hall."
"Now."
They heard the Tides here. Of course they did. The filtration hall sat at the center of Harborline like a second heart. Pipes ran overhead. Pumps thudded in the walls. The whole place smelled of salt, metal, and hope stretched thin. The council had already gathered when Lena arrived, and the sight of Seth in the doorway made the room snap tight. 3 council members. No more. That was enough. Mara, the oldest, stood with her arms folded, her face carved from worry and stubbornness. Tomas, younger and sharper, looked at Seth like he was a sickness. And Evren, quiet as ever, kept his hands clasped behind his back and watched Lena instead of the escort. "You brought a Tide soldier into Harborline," Tomas said. "Cole sent him," Lena answered. "That wasn't a request." "That makes it worse," Tomas snapped. Seth stayed still, but Lena could feel the tension coming off him like heat. One wrong word, and this room would explode. Mara stepped forward. "Did he follow orders?" "He did." "Is he armed?" "Less than your men are," Lena said. That earned her a glance from Tomas, but it also cooled the room just enough to keep blood and bodies instead of on the floor. Lena laid Cole's terms on the table. Half the tanker. Shared route access. A future escort exchange. A direct line between Harborline and the Tide, with the dusters and the choir pushed out of the middle. It was ugly. It was necessary. It was the kind of deal that only made sense in a world that had forgotten shame. Evren was the first to speak. "If the Tide can escort one of their own here, they can escort spies." Seth finally stepped forward. "If we wanted to poison your people, we wouldn't send one man and announce it." Tomas bristled. "You think that makes us feel safer?" "No," Seth said. "I think it makes you feel less stupid." Jax almost smiled. Lena could tell. Almost. Mara raised a hand to stop the next argument before it started. We can't afford another faction fight. Not with the wells falling behind schedule and the south filtration line clogging again. She looked at Lena. Do you trust Cole? Lena thought of the way Cole had watched her, as if weighing whether she was offering peace or a better angle of attack. No, she said honestly. But I trust his fear of losing water more than I trust his pride. That answer settled over the room like dust. They moved to the maps. Harborline supply lines, Tide convoy routes, Duster ambush zones. Seth stayed near the doorway, a captive in everything but name. Jax watched him back. No one fully relaxed. But for the first time, the air held the shape of something other than impending violence. Then the alarm bell hit. One long blast. Then two shorter ones. Every head turned. A runner burst through the hall entrance, gasping. Dusters on the North Road. At least 6. They've got fuel cans and something bigger. Maybe a siphon rig. Mara's face went white. Tomas swore. Seth's hand moved instinctively toward his rifle before he stopped himself. Lena was already moving. Where's the breach? Outer Road Junction, the runner said. They're not here yet, but they'll be close in minutes. Seth looked at Lena. If this is a setup. It isn't, she said. Jax stepped beside her. If the Dusters hit now, they'll think the Tide brought them. Or the Tide will think Harborline invited them, Tomas muttered. Lena didn't like the shape of that thought. Not at all. She stared at the map. North Road. Outer Junction. Too close. Too deliberate. Someone had known the timing. Someone had wanted Harborline distracted. Get the gate teams ready, Lena said. Seth, if you want this deal to mean anything, you help us hold the line. He hesitated only a second. And if your people shoot me the second the fight starts? Then at least you'll die doing something useful. That got the closest thing to a grin he'd shown all day. By the time they reached the outer wall, dust was already climbing the horizon. Harborline's guards moved into position. Jax took the high side of the barricade. Seth stood at Lena's flank, Tide markings fully visible now, the risk no longer theoretical. The Dusters appeared as a long, ragged line of trucks and bikes, moving fast and low through the haze. Too many. Too organized. Too confident. Lena's stomach dropped. This wasn't a random raid. It was a test. Or a distraction. Then she saw it. One of the vehicles had the white Waven triangle scratched into the side in fresh paint, almost hidden under dust. A Tide mark. Jax saw it too. Lena, she didn't answer. She was already understanding the shape of the betrayal. Someone had wanted Harborline to see the Tide first. Someone had wanted blood. And someone inside the Tide was playing a longer game than Cole had admitted. Lena raised her rifle and fired the first warning shot into the dirt in front of the nearest truck. Hold the wall, she shouted. The line between peace and war vanished in the noise. Interactive choice for Part 5 and the Season 1 finale. Choice 1. Pursue the traitor. Lena notices the Tide mark on the Duster vehicle and decides the attack was staged. She sends Jax and Seth after the clue, trying to uncover who inside the Tide is feeding both sides into war. Choice 2. Defend Harborline first. Lena ignores the trail and focuses on surviving the raid. The Dusters are at the walls, and every rifle matters. The bigger conspiracy can wait until the settlement is safe. Vote 1 or 2 to decide how Part 5 and the Season 1 finale begin.